What if I told you that most leaders don't fail because they lack skills, but because they lose focus on what truly matters? In this two-part series, I will share my leadership playbook, what I call the 4 Ps, that have helped me bring clarity through chaotic moments as a leader. Now, in this video, you will learn the portfolio and people, identifying what success looks like, and how to unlock potential in your people. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Teresa. I'm a leadership and a career coach based in Melbourne, Australia. And on this channel, we explore practical strategies and tools to help you lead with clarity, influence with confidence, and grow in your professional career. If you like the sound of that, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. So before jumping in, let me take you a moment when everything changed for me. Now, during a quarterly business review, my manager asked a simple question. What is the biggest impact your team has had on the business this quarter? I kind of froze. I could list everything we were busy with, fixing bugs, meeting attending, fighting the fires and putting out fires as well, but I couldn't point to a clear business outcome. And that's where it hit me. I was managing tasks, not leading towards impact. I was confused with motion, with progress. And worst of all, my team felt just lost. Now, I tested this with them in the next team meeting. Asked everyone to write down their top 3 priorities. We had 7 people in my team and we got 11 different answers. Now, that was my wake-up call. I needed a system, not theory, not leadership fluff, a practical playbook to bring direction back into the team. Now, the first P in the playbook is portfolio. And this is where most new leaders, myself included, get tripped up on right from the beginning. When I say portfolio, I need you to understand that it's not just talking about the list of projects your team's working on or the backlog items in your planning tool. I'm talking about developing a crystal clear understanding of what you're truly accountable for as a leader and how your success is actually measured by the organization. So here's a fundamental shift that nobody tells you when you become a leader, and is honestly one of the hardest transitions to make. Your job is no longer to do the work yourself. Your job is to ensure the right work gets done by the right people at the right time. Now, that might sound like a subtle distinction, but it requires you to think completely differently about accountability, influence, and how you spend your energy each day. The portfolio pillar breaks down into 3 essential building blocks that stack on top of each other, and mastering each one is critical. Now, the first building block is looking inwards to understand your goal with brutal honesty. Now, this sounds straightforward, but it's where most leaders stumble because they haven't been taught how to do this properly. You need to identify the key measures of success that you directly responsible for shifting in your area. I'm talking about specific measurable metrics that improve when you and your team perform well and decline when you don't. These need to be very concrete enough that you could track them weekly over week or month over month. For example, if you're leading a mobile app team, you might look at retention metrics such as stickiness, average active usage, feature adoption rates, or even conversion if you are moving them from free to paid customer. If you're an engineering manager, it could be deployment frequency, system reliability metrics like uptime or error rates, or team velocity measures that shows your ability to deliver effectively with high quality. Now, the principle here is being specific about what moves when you succeed. Vague goals like improve the product or build a great team don't just cut it, because you just can't measure them. And what you can't measure, you can't manage or improve. But here's a crucial distinction you absolutely must understand, and this is where I see most leaders get confused. There is a significant difference between direct and indirect influence on metrics. Direct influence means that your team's action immediately and measurably impact the metric. When you ship a feature, you can see engagement go up. When you fix bugs, you can see error rates go down. Now, indirect influence means your work contributes to the larger system that eventually moves the needle on a broader organization goals. Both types of influence matter to the business. but you need to be crystal clear about which is which because it affects how you plan, how you communicate, your value, and how you think about success. If everything feels like indirect influence, you're probably not being specific enough about your direct accountability, and that's a huge red flag. Now, the second building block is verification with your leaders and peers, and this is a step that many leaders skip entirely because they just assume they already understand what success looks like. Now, that assumption is almost always wrong, or at least incomplete. You need to have explicit conversation with your manager, your peer leaders, and key stakeholders across the organization to ensure there's a complete alignment on what you're trying to achieve and why it matters. I recommend scheduling what I call success definition meetings, at least quarterly or whenever there's a significant shift in the company's strategy or your team's focus. Now, come to these meetings prepared with your understanding of your goals, the specific metrics you're tracking, and how you believe your work connects to the broader organization objectives. Then, and this is the important part, listen carefully to the feedback you receive and be willing to adjust your understanding based on what you hear. Now, these conversations also help the organization identify duplications of effort across teams, which can become disruptive and inefficient if left unchecked. Sometimes you will discover that there are two teams working on similar problems without realizing it, or that a metric you thought that you were alone is also actually shared responsibility with another group. And the final building block is connecting your goal to the greater business objective in a way that's explicit and well understood. Now, this is where strategic thinking comes into play. And it's what separates leaders who simply just execute from leaders who execute with purpose. You need to understand how your portfolio aligns with company-wide goals, where your work fits in the bigger picture. Why does your work matter? How does it contribute to the company's ability to win in the market? And what would happen if your team doesn't exist? Now, this understanding serves two critical purposes that will make you more effective as a leader. First, it helps you better prioritize decisions when resources are constrained. And let's be honest, there are always constraints. If you understand how your work connects to the business objective, you will more confidently say yes to the right things and no to requests that would just pull you away off the course. Second, it enables you to communicate the value of your team in terms that resonates with senior leadership and executive and other stakeholders who might not understand the technical details of what you guys do. When you translate your team's achievements into business impact, you build credibility and influence across the organization. Now, when you master the portfolio pillar by working through all these building blocks, something powerful happens. You create clarity, not just for yourself, but for your entire team. Everybody understands what winning looks like and how their individual contribution matters in achieving that success, and why the work they're doing is important to the organization's future. That clarity becomes a foundation for everything else you do as a leader. Now, the second P focuses on people. And this is where leadership becomes deeply personal and infinitively more complex than managing goals and metrics. So here's the truth that I wish someone had told me when I first became a manager. Your success as a leader is entirely dependent on the success and engagement of the people on your team. It sounds obvious, right, when I say it, but the implications are profound and far-reaching. You can have the clearest goals in the world, the best strategies, and the most supportive executive, but if your people aren't motivated, capable, or properly supported, absolutely none of it matters. Your success is theirs success, and their success is your success. They're completely intertwined. Now, the people pillar has two fundamental components that we need to master as leaders, and both require us to become genuinely curious about the humans we're working with, not just the employees or resources we're managing. The first component is understanding how your current team members are feeling and what truly drives them. Now, this goes beyond the surface level check-in that happens in most one-on-one meetings where you review project status updates and talk about blockers. You need to develop a deep, nuanced understanding of what motivates each person on your team, what energizes them and makes them excited to come to work, what drains them and leaves them feeling depleted, and what they aspire to become in their career. So I recommend starting with what I call motivation mapping conversations. And these are just different from regular one-on-ones. So sit down with each team member in a relaxed setting and ask open-ended questions. Things like, what type of work makes you lose track of time because you're so engaged in it? What are you hoping to learn or improve over the next 6 to 12 months? What aspect of your current role do you find most frustrating or energy draining? When you think about your career trajectory over the next few years, what skills or experiences do you want to develop? What does success look like to you personally, not just professionally? As you have these conversations, listen not just what the words the people are saying, but pay close attention to their energy level when they're talking about different topics. You'll notice that people light up when they discuss certain types of work and seems to be deflated when they become more guarded and talking about other aspects of their roles. Now, this information becomes absolutely invaluable when you're making decisions about project assignments, identifying growth opportunities, and thinking about how you structure work in ways that maximize both productivity and satisfaction. But understanding motivation is only half of the equation when it comes to people. You also need to identify the specific areas where each team member want to improve and grow. This isn't about performance problems, although these certain areas do need to be addressed separately. So think about understanding people's growth, aspiration, and helping them develop new capabilities that align with their career goals. And some people are motivated by mastering deep technical skills and becoming that subject matter expert. Others are energized by developing leadership capabilities or expanding their business acumen. Some thrive on creative challenges that pushes them into new territories, while others prefer optimizing and perfecting existing processes or their current job. Your job as a leader is to understand these preferences and whenever possible, align growth opportunity with business needs so that everybody wins. The second component of the people is assessing whether you have the right team composition to achieve your goals. Based on your portfolio, understanding, and your knowledge of your current team members, you need to honestly evaluate whether there are gaps that needs to be filled either through hiring, development, or restructuring. Now, these assessments should consider both hard skills and capacity. Do you have people with technical expertise needed to execute your roadmap? Do you have enough senior leadership contribution to mentor and guide more junior team members? Are there specific domain knowledge areas where you're lacking depth? But it's not just about technical skills, and this is something many leaders miss. You also need to think about working styles, communication preferences, and how people approach problems. Do you have people naturally think strategically about long-term implications and can see around the corner? Do you have detail-oriented contributors who excel at execution and will follow through? Do you have team members who are comfortable with ambiguity and thrive in exploration work, and others who prefer more structured environment with clear requirements? A well-composed team has a diversity of strengths that complement each other. When you identify gaps in your team composition, you have several options available to you. Sometimes the solution is hiring new team members with complementary skills that fill the hole. Other times it's about providing development opportunities for existing team members to grow into new roles and expand their capability. And sometimes it's just about restructuring, how work gets done, or partnering up more closely with other teams who have strength that complements your teams. Now, the key insight here is that great leaders don't just manage the teams they inherited passively, they thoughtfully and intentionally shape the team composition over time to maximize both individual fulfillment and collective impact. Now, getting portfolio and people right created a domino effect that I honestly didn't expect when I first started implementing this playbook. Once we had portfolio clarity and everybody understood what we were working on towards and why it mattered, something shifted in my team meeting. Instead of people looking confused or disengaged when I talked about priorities, I started seeing people nodding of understanding and recognition. People started to see the clear connection between their daily job and bigger outcomes without needing me to explain it again and again and again. Now, the questions they asked became more strategic and thoughtful. The decisions they made independently were better aligned with our goals. It was like suddenly everybody had the same map and compass. So here's the challenge I want to give you before we go into part 2. Now pick one of the 2 P's we covered today and spend this week doing an honest reflection assessing of where you stand. If you choose portfolio, I want you to write down what you think your key success metrics are, the ones that generally move your team's performance well. Be very, very specific. Then schedule a meeting with your manager this week to verify your understanding. Ask them directly and openly. I want to make sure that we're completely aligned on what success looks like for my team. Here's what I'm thinking I'm accountable for and how I'm measuring to it. Where am I off? What am I missing? Be prepared for some surprises. I certainly was when I did my first exercise with my manager. If you choose people, I want you to have a different kind of conversation one-on-one with them. Instead of starting out with usual project updates or status reports, begin by asking them about what energizes them. Use those motivation mapping questions I shared earlier. What work makes them lose track of time, what they want to learn, what frustrates them about their current role. And here's the key to making this work. Listen more than you talk. Resist the urge to problem solve or give advice immediately. Just listen and absorb what you're hearing. The most important part of this challenge, regardless of which P you choose, document what you discovered. Write it down in detail. Because in part 2, I'm going to show you exactly how to use these insights to build the system and processes that scale your leadership impact beyond what you can do individually. As always, if you find this video helpful, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. And thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.